Welcome to the next in our series on Seamus Heaney. In this video, we're looking at district and circle. I should remind you that these are not my thoughts, but the analysis that my father has undertaken of a poet that he admires and the perspective that he developed. The poet, of course, is Seamus Heaney, and the analysis is that of David Foreword OBE. It's his words that will follow. District and Circle, Seamus Heaney's 12th collection since Death of a Naturalist in 1966, was published in April 2006 by Faber and Faber. The poet is in his mid-60s. Times have changed increasingly swiftly and radically over 4 decades. The challenges and dilemmas facing the apprentice poet in the 1960s seems a million miles distant from the way the world presents itself to Heaney now. After years and years of strife, and against all expectations, there have been 8 years of peace in Ulster following the Good Friday Agreement of 1998. As a result, Heaney can carry an Irish passport on the streets of Northern Ireland without having to watch his back. After 2000, a pressing sense of menace has emerged at the international rather than the parochial level. The world has experienced large-scale violence, the seismic shock of 9/11 in the US, the Iraq War 2 years later, and subsequent terrorist bomb attacks on the London Underground in 2006. These will figure in the collection. Heaney will also respond to the ominous shadow of global warming identified by scientists 30 years earlier. Recognised threats including rising sea levels, the loss of ice fields, and greenhouse gas emissions. Other things have remained reassuringly the same. In 2006, he is still married to the same wife and remains a loving father and grandfather. Perhaps he should have taken a little more care of himself. Heaney suffered a mild stroke 4 months after District and Circle was published, but thankfully made a rapid recovery. Heaney is growing older. He is conscious of it, but has shown little sign of slowing down. He regards poetry readings and lectures, book launches and festivals, honorary degrees and exhibition openings as part of his territory. Some events stand out. He has developed a poet and piper collaboration with Irish musician Liam O'Flynn that takes him to Iceland. Celebrations for Chilean poet Pablo Neruda have taken him to Madrid. The funeral of his much revered fellow poet Zdzisław Miłosz was held in Poland. He has visited the Silkeborg Museum in Denmark and has met the Emperor and Empress of Japan at Wordsworth's Dove's Cottage at Grasmere in England's Lake District. About the collection, its title is based on 2 London tube lines. The title poem recalls a tube journey Heaney routinely followed during early work experience in London, but the collection circles a much broader district, revisiting familiar haunts and adding some new ones. The Greek poet George Seferis, to whom a poem is dedicated, had persuaded him that revisiting earlier themes and settings is to rediscover the first seed so that the ancient drama can begin again. The first seeds Heaney replants include the lost domain of childhood, scenes of formative physical and emotional days in both primary and secondary education, contact with a naughty local boy, sights and situations emanating from World War II. He contemplates Irish territory and the familiar spots he ranged as a youngster and the bodies excavated from a Jutland peat bog by Danish anthropologists. In District and Circle, the literati rub shoulders with the locals and the dead outnumber the living. Heaney is the one who has survived to memorialise them. Over a short period, the world order has changed for the worse, and Heaney spells out the dangers associated with armed men out of control. Archaic farm machinery resembles a medieval war machine. Handling a sledgehammer causes a reverberation of trepidation. The impact of Viking invasions of Ireland more than 1,000 years before involves the same fear as the stricken donkey in live TV footage of a Middle Eastern marketplace under attack as witnessed by Heaney on TV News the night before. A second group aligns destructiveness and the power of fire. The seismic effect of 9/11 felling of the Twin Towers impacts on the whole American nation. A firefighter's helmet symbolises heroism in the face of evil. The premeditated torching of his home alienates a man from his environment. The stove lid of William Wordsworth's sister resembles the mouth of hell, and the fiery pits of hell into which tyrants are thrown feature in the poem dedicated to George Seferis. Echoes of World War II drip with menace. D-Day preparations take place in front of the local abattoir. Railway sleepers hold memories of extermination camps. The elegy to a demobbed soldier tells how he was changed by war. Aerodrome becomes a parable of temptation resisted and a child's sense of insecurity allayed. And the nod acknowledges the suspicion prevalent in more recent sectarian communities. Heaney's local territory and its shadows from the past turn up. Local blacksmith Barney Devlin wagging the finger of authority at the village children and then striking 12 hammer blows on the anvil to celebrate the millennium, relayed by cell phone to a nephew in Canada. He offers affectionate memories of the local barber shop and elegiac tributes to 2 aunts and a local woman laid to rest by her community. 3 prose poems conjure up the highways and byways of his district, the road to primary school, the elegance of the tinkerwomen Heaney encountered, and his sense of displacement on the weekly bus journey to boarding school. Schoolboy reminiscences recall the day they had their legs slapped for misbehaviour and how chewing tobacco caused rebellious young Heaney burning discomfort. Brancadeer recalls how, as a normal, laddish teenager, he undertook a Catholic pilgrimage to Lourdes as part of his spiritual upbringing. A former classmate in the pub, one Christmas morning, gives off the whiff of sectarian tribalism. The dangers of global warming and the effect of modernisation have their place. The glacier melt of Hoffen, the rising waters in Iowa, the strident voices of progressives, indifferent to the pollution of his beloved river, the Moyola. Heaney pitches his Iron Age Tolland man into a modern technological landscape, exposing him to so-called progress and pollution. Tolland man once out. Heaney reveals that the title piece, District and Circle, was originally part of the Tolland Man poem until he realised its poetic potential and reworked 5 sonnets to create a Dante-like underground journey, meeting kindred spirits and proceeding from life to whatever might await him on the other side. Amidst all this drama, Heaney makes room for his enduring love of his wife Marie, both in Belfast and in Glanmore Cottage, and celebrates the erotic pleasure of fiddlehead fern and crabapple jelly. He finds space to memorialise a handful of admired creative spirits now deceased. Wordsworth's skates launch an extraordinary poet into an orbit of celebrity, but in contrast, Quitting Time salutes the job well done by a humble farm worker. The jubilation of Heaney's toast in nonce words to the pleasures of being alive in his own familiar surroundings is somehow tempered by the prospect of his inevitable demise. The collection's final poem, The Blackbird of Glanmore, offers an intensely moving epilogue, an ageing poet revisiting the beloved site where much of his work was composed, the presence of a kindred spirit creature and its endearing characteristics, the shadow of a younger brother killed in a road accident outside the family home in 1953. It covers arrivals, departures, superstition, premonition, and making the best of what is left. Thank you for listening. If you feel you might enjoy District and Circle as much as I do, then join me at Foreword.com, where my father will share with you the skills Heaney demonstrates in his use of the sonnet form. Thanks for watching.